2017.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? None. This time, open the hearing for public comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to committee officer reports. I have none. Mr. Vice President?
I have none.
Okay. Highway Committee?
We did not meet.
Finance?
Yeah, I'll start, and then the other members can chime in as you want. We had a couple of issues that we were looking at. Number one was the solar panel project, and the other one was the ISS request for additional funding. We'll get to the ISS request. We went through the solar panel request, and it was more in depth than I originally thought. We brought Reuter in. We kind of went over it. I had him contact the company that was here last month. So really, here's the basic long and short of it as a finance committee member that I see. If you remember, a month or two ago, we gave you a report on how we could finance all of the projects that we had previously and still end up with our half year's tax balance. This was an $8 million project, so I was concerned going in how we would do that. But as we look at it, it is more than just a solar panel project. And we, after talking to Reuter and looking at the proposal that was in front of us, I believe as a finance committee member, I'm recommending to the full council, as long as we're working under the premise of we're not using cash and we're not bonding this, this is basically a lease purchase type agreement. And there are more products involved in this than just solar panels. One of them would be converting the community corrections from electric heat to natural gas. And as a mechanical contractor, I think that's a great idea, and there's savings right there. But that is mixed into this project. And Mike looked at it a little, Mike Reuter looked at it, and as long as we go forward with that premise, there really are two things that are that we need to work further on, as long as we have consensus from the council that you want us to go forward. One is the estimated rate of increase from the utility company, the electric utility. This project is based on, and I'll just use a number, 5% increase a year for the next 10 years or whatever the length of the contract. And the amount of percentage of interest rate that you would pay on the money that you're theoretically leasing. These two are, we haven't got those defined yet, but there are other projects in the county school systems that have done the same thing. So generally it comes down to, we would use the money that we're paying now in utility payments to pay this lease purchase. We can do this deal. So with that being said, I would look for the council to give us some guidance. If you like the idea and you understand the premises that I'm kind of laying out here, you have questions, I told Mike not to go forward and spend his time on it until we got a consensus. This was something we wanted to go forward with. But the general parameter is we would use our utility payments on a lease purchase on solar panels and other equipment, the gas conversion and the utility costs would pay the lease purchase, and at the end of the lease purchase, we would own the stuff that's on the ground, and in the meantime, we haven't borrowed money and we haven't used cash. That's the general parameters of this, and so that's really all I got to say. I'm looking for the rest of the council to tell us how you want to go forward.
Paul?
No, I don't have anything to add, and we're going to, I think we're only going to consider later on the option to purchase. Isn't that right? Isn't that what's in on it?
So that'd be a completely different proposal.
Yeah. So I don't have anything to add. Brad, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, obsolescence, those kinds of things, but I think we need to carry the conversation further. Yeah.
So is it a completely different proposal in its entirety? I just want to make sure that I understand what is tabled right now.
The proposal that was brought to us,
Right.
We did an initial glance at it and know that this is what they proposed to us.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was a lease purchase when they brought it to us. I thought they were just wanting to buy it.
So
But
what's
it-
on the tabled business now is exactly what you were referring to as far
Right.
as the, okay.
That says
The only question mark is.
No.
Are you sure, Brad? I'm sorry, I don't mean it, I just.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% on that. I thought it was a lease purchase, but the lease purchase, there are still two areas that are,
Right, those two, that increase,
that
right.
are, want further investigation.
Because I thought it was a purchase and that we came up with Mike,
With the lease
with the
purchase. That could
lease
be true.
idea.
Yeah, right.
I
Come on,
see.
guys, where am I missing this at?
Over here.
Well, let's take one question at a time. Thank you for stating what you said. Two things. It's under the statute, Senate Bill 516, which has been around, and basically the premise is it's based under what we call, and I sent the attorneys the actual lease that we did just recently, and it's called annual appropriation. There's no debt. You can do a bank loan. Again, it's no bonding, and exactly what you said, instead of the utility payment you would pay, you pay the payment. And after a period of time, which the one model I showed you, after 18 and a half years, it's yours. To Paul's piece, the warranty from a multi-billion-dollar company is 25 years. Just the panel manufacturer, so the obsolescence is not there. And then you also have basically a energy guarantee from Great American Surety from Cincinnati, the bonding company that we have to give every year. So there's no risk to the actual county on doing this piece. The model we showed was 3.65%. I sent Mike, he was really great, 4 or 5. I've done 5 of them just recently. One was LaPel Schools. One was Madison Grant, Ben Davis, Orleans, and they all came in about between 3.2 and 3.49%.
Kurt, what you just mentioned, those are other school systems?
School systems, that's correct.
Are there any other counties?
Yeah,
in
I just did the first solar sale, I'm kind of proud of it, in North Vernon, and they actually, ready for this? They decided to just go 5 years at 2 1/4, and they used a local bank, Main Source. So you have multiple avenues. I know it gets a little confusing, but the premise of the whole thing, there is zero debt, no tax increase, you're avoiding tax increase, and we financed it in a way I showed you that for 18 months that you actually incur benefit for your general fund. And then very simply, let's just make it simple. You have a $50,000 payment and it comes right out of Steve Wood's fund and you pay the actual loan.
The county's still the ones backing it though, so that number doesn't match. I mean, if he doesn't have the revenue to produce that or the savings to produce that, we still got to back that up with county general fund or county taxes or whatever else.
Okay, so a couple things. It makes it really kind of simple on this piece. There's a production guarantee from the manufacturer and also from us. Big deal. We're a 42-year-old company, but it also, you get a insurance bond energy savings, basically bond from Great American Surety every year for the actual total production and amount. So if I tell you it's going to be $600,000, then you have an energy bond from us in case we would go out of business. So that's what we did.
Okay, that's all that sounds good. You got also so the lease though. You said when you talk about a lease, we're not taking out any loan. Like that's the difference here. I mean, you said they took out a lease and then they went to bank or Main Source Bank, and those are two different things you're talking about, right?
No,
It's called installment purchase. That's how they go under the actual statute, and there's a thing called annual appropriation. What that means is, versus a bond, which is backed by the taxpayer, an annual appropriation means for some reason, if the county would go out of business, then you could not appropriate and the bank was out of loan. A good example of this is the City of Detroit. They had a bunch of these annual appropriations and they basically went bankrupt and they didn't have to pay those pieces. It can never go back to the taxpayer.
What if in 2 years, see, the lease thing, what was appealing to me was if it was a lease, and this doesn't sound like that's what this actually is, but if you had say 2 to 4 years, we wanted to measure the performance, and it wasn't measuring up to what was initially thought that it would, then we could turn around and say, okay, you could take these solar panels back because we were doing better without them. Now, if we do this can be a fixed asset, so that's going to be listed that way for accounting principles as a fixed asset if you do it that way. So I mean, it's still going to be on our balance sheet. Whether or not we bond it is, for GAAP principles I'm talking about, right? It's a fixed asset.
Okay, the difference between an operating lease is basically you have 3 options at the end, which is basically it can't be over 20%. There's a buyout option, there's a re-rental option, and you can give it back, okay? This is not a lease. Now, to answer your question is, because we are guaranteeing it, and also we have a bond in case we are going out of business, you'd be whole every year. So here's a great example. We're supposed to do 4 million kilowatt hours. If we only do 3.8, that's 200,000 kilowatt hours times 8 cents, 16 grand. So I got to first stop is me, $16,000 to make you whole, to make sure of the payment. Then, if I was not there, you go to basically Great American Surety. So we tried to do this on best practices, Mike Howard and us, on everything from business interruption insurance to the bond.
Yeah, and I think that's great. All that's good. My thing is just that one thing that I'm thinking of is we're still on the hook for that money. We still got to pay back the bank. It's not like what he's talking about, a lease where you get, or like if we're unsatisfied with it, we can change the deal. We have to listen to the balance sheet because we are stuck with this once it's there, right? I mean, is that how it is?
Did you say, I'm sorry to interrupt, Fred.
I want to answer that.
Did you say, this I think will answer it, that Mike Howard somebody has a document that spells out all of our requirements, the buyout, the term of the lease, the obsolescence, somebody has that document?
Within a couple of days, I sent that to Mike Howard after our last meeting, and then he shared it with Mike Reuter and gave a whole page on why it wasn't incurring debt. Right.
Here's the thing. I think everybody should have a comfort level.
Yeah.
But I just kind of laid out the general parameters. There are 2 or 3 issues. If you want us to go forward, we're going to drill down further on. Okay? So what I'm looking for is you guys to have a comfort level and say, Finance Committee, go forward, and we're going to drill down on a couple of them that are still open-ended as far as we're concerned, that I didn't have Reuter invest more of his time, which is money, until we got a consensus that this is this is at least a viable option, and then we'll go further into exactly what the interest rate.
Hey, Brad. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I got 3 questions then. Based on what you said when you got into it, and it was much bigger and more encompassing than what you'd originally thought.
Right.
Based on that, and instead of this, we got this. Is everything still budgeted?
Yeah.
Is there still a cost savings, or is it going to cost more overall? Because you mentioned something about we'd have increased electric rates.
Well, go to your third one.
And then the third one was, is there any Fed, state, or any other issues, timelines that we have to get this done in a certain time before we lose credits?
I don't think so, because we don't pay taxes, so there's no tax credit there.
Okay.
Some other entities do. But to answer your first question, yes, as I see the deal, as it's presented to me, it's a savings. Okay. We'll be saving going forward. The other parts that I at least, I guess I didn't pay too much attention to, the other parts of it, converting to gas and whatnot, are included in the $8 million deal, and I'm definitely in favor of that. So as far as I see personally, I'm not talking for the other committee members, right now, as long as we drill down and get right on the interest rate and the projected utility increases, I see it as a win-win.
So it's within budget, and you're starting to see some cost savings?
Yes, as far as the budgeting, the other project we're already committed to, this has no impact on those.
Okay. And then, is there any Fed or state, or is there anything that you know of that we would need to get this done sooner rather than later, or we're able to take our time?
Again, I told you last time, this is a big decision. Take your patience. There is a technical piece like today, that if you overproduce power in what you're actually using, it turns the meter back, and currently, they'll pay you 8 cents for any amount of power that you overproduce. They'll allow you through state statute with this change for a 30-year grandfathering. If we would not get it done by the end of the year, it would be 15. That's how the state statute is. But once again, this is a long-term play. Be patient, make sure everybody feels comfortable. That's my only consideration.
So you're giving the example of that 16,000 and where the overproduction, that's basically the example that you were utilizing at that 8 cent mark, and then really that's just the difference is 15
they'll
versus
pay
30.
wholesale plus 1 1/4. I mean, I've done some really big deals, $140 million deals and things like that, and just take your time. And one day you think this is the right answer and it's not. The reason I bring that up, I don't know if you know, I mean, I drive an electric car, a Tesla, and it's 272 miles. And Elon Musk is putting a new battery factory in Reno. Do you know China's building 4 times the amount of factories for batteries for basically their power, not their power, but their smog issue over in China? In 15 years, we might have battery there. Do you understand what I'm saying? To be able to retain this power and be able to just not give it back. So I'm just be patient. All right.
It sounds great, but you said North Vernon? I thought it's a city.
The whole city is no far. I'm doing 50 different sites from the golf course to the city
Right.
center.
He's asking about the
A
county.
county. Any other counties?
I apologize. The county absolutely have had 3 different meetings, but no, they have not done that.
Nobody else? Okay. I'm not in a hurry because I think we have other major projects that must be done with the judicial and the jail. And this has all of a sudden, come fast and furious, so.
Actually, 3 years ago, I started looking at this project when the council asked me to find ways to cut money when we were in trouble. We're having issues. And I talked to Brad about it at that time, and he informed me it was too expensive. So over the last 3 years, I've looked at this and just brought it to the commissioners to get it completed before we can move forward with it, because it's a way that we can save money in the long run. Not just today, but the long run.
I hear you, Steve, and
Okay.
you said
And
that.
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that you're aware of that.
Right, it was a dual project. It was compressed natural gas and the solar panels 3 years ago.
Correct.
And, again, not through any fault of yours, the factors with compressed natural gas, we haven't seen that savings. But it's also just a concern that, this still is speculative. And we've had emails from constituents who've asked us, do we have it in our house? What is the rush? And I'm just saying, for me,
So
I'm looking at the jail and the judicial center as a major priority.
Okay, so as you look at this, you may want to go to the airport and take a look. You may want to go to a couple of these locations to look. It's different from a home versus this size, because it costs so much to do a home versus what we're doing. Okay, because we're looking at a real serious budget, right? And the home takes a lot more money to purchase that to what little they pay, because I've looked at it for myself. And it doesn't pay back where this does. And part of that is the conversions that Brad brought up that we need to do at the same time.
Well, and as I shared with the finance committee, I've talked to a couple actuaries, they ran the numbers, and they thought it was a great deal if it was 8 years or shorter. Anything over 8 years, they believe we totally lose any savings, that it's eaten up with the interest.
I mean, if you want to do it in 8 years, I mean, that's your decision. I mean, then I have to figure out where that is in the budget. I'm trying to do it out of my operational budget that we would save, over the time frame to cover the cost where it doesn't affect the general fund.
Would it, just from the standpoint of, would it be something that the council would entertain having finance go back and delve into those 2 pieces that Brad had mentioned, which obviously is the rate of increase and then, what the theoretical lease.
Well, there's some things that Brad said that they would dig in deeper.
I think that's important information to have before making a firm decision.
Steve, you had something?
Well, my question, they've answered part of it, was, how fast we need to be on track to do this project. But I'm also interested in drilling down, like Brad said, but I do want to keep us on track. I know we have other projects, and I feel like we can juggle all these projects. But I would like to keep us on track, because I personally would like to do something in the next meeting or 2.
I would like to see the jail, know exactly what we're doing with the jail, and, you know, at least breaking ground in the jail before we actually talk about the solar panels that are gonna go on the jail, and we don't even know what we're doing with it yet. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And we haven't decided where the court, we got all these things out, drawings out, you know, plans being drawn up. We don't even know where we're going with these other projects yet, so.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So what do you want finance to do?
I would like to move forward.
I would as well.
I would say, yeah, I like you drilling down, like Brad said, into some more things.
It
And
does come back at 8 years,
Yeah.
like your,
it can come back with us with recommendation.
My only suggestion to that would be, I would like to see someone that has expertise in this field, along with the finance committee or whoever you decide to do it with, because we really, I mean, we can figure out the numbers, but I think we need to have somebody that knows the technology, that is, or is a scientist, or has some reason, you know, other than somebody that has an interest in it.
Well, as you remember, Paul, I don't disagree with that at all. Mike Reuter was in contact with Mr. Mundy.
Yeah, from Sheridan?
From Sheridan.
Yeah, from Sheridan, yeah.
Who's now with Noblesville, and he had a personal relationship with him, and he was kind of quizzing him on how it worked for them and this, that, and the other thing. But I'm not disagreeing with you that we can go forward, that we'll keep working on it now. With that being said, I will alert, if we go forward, if the majority of the council wants us to keep working on it, we'll drill down, and I will personally report back to you if Mike has a set contract with us, and this is over and above. If he starts running into overtime before we have him spend much money on overtime as to what it's going to take. But I agree with you, Paul. Maybe we should find, in our finding, we'll find somebody that's completely independent and see what they got to say. I think so, because I think we have dissenting opinions, don't we?
I think you can move forward without a vote right now.
Okay,
It's still in committee.
if that's all right with
Yeah,
you.
and you got at least four people here that wanted you to move forward. I stand by the fact, though, that we get project after project after project.
I don't
We haven't
dis-
decided where we're going with those.
I don't disagree with you, and I wouldn't be in favor of moving forward if I didn't see that we could do the projects that we're already committed to at the funding level we've already committed to, and this one at the same time.
Yeah, and find out about that fixed,
But I will
how it's gonna fit into the balance sheet.
Yes,
too,
and
so we put
I
that in there.
will say to you, keep in mind, when I say that, I'm saying, we agreed for preliminary funding on the courthouse, preliminary funding on 146 in Allisonville, preliminary engineering on the jail, or at least I'm waiting to see something.
It's coming up tonight.
The jail is? Okay, well, we'll deal with that then. But that number was not 16, that number was 12, that we have figured into the big county budget and are still moving forward.
I think it's important that if Mike Reuter needs extra money to move forward, or wherever he is, if he
Yeah.
gets close to that, I think the project's well worth it. We need to
Well,
pursue it. And
I told him, you tell me when the meter starts running, okay? And he said he would, but I keep that in mind, he works for us and we pay him X amount a year, but this is not inside his normal workload.
I understand.
And I'll offer my minority dissent that I don't think we should spend more time on it, so. With our other heavier projects out there.
All right, personnel. Anything for personnel?
Anybody meet on personnel?
We meet.
Yes, we did.
I
We
was
met.
not there.
Did meet, and we will discuss items later on in the agenda.
Okay. We got miscellaneous, anything besides what's listed for councilman heirs under miscellaneous? Paul?
Oh, yeah, we do this every year if it's, pleases the council. And Susan's here if you got questions, but they use their comp time during the fair because they're, basically overworked, and then they catch it back up. Simple as that. We've done it several years, so I'd like to make a motion that we do that again this year.
All those, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Did I describe that right? Now that it's over? Close enough? Thank you.
All right. Looking at unfinished business, there's none. We'll move on to tabled business. Is there anything looking to get untabled here? Rainy day fund?
I want to untable the ISS upgrade.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's untabled. Is there any discussion for the $977,000?
Rick, I can't remember which fund we decided.
Well, it's that same, we have it on here also to come out of the non-reverting. And
Chris is
I-
on a mission trip, but
Right, I
he
talked to Chris,
prefers the non-reverting.
and we can do
Yeah, well,
what's.
he's already got, I understand that, but he's already got other projects funded out of non-reverting.
I think he said he
He
thought
said
he
he-
could swing
he
them,
could.
swing those. What he just asked, if we are so
Inclined.
inclined at budget, that we include this 977 at budget, so that it can be replenished then.
Okay, is that your?
I'm fine with
Is
that.
that what you wanted? I knew he had projects committed out of that, but so we'll replenish his funds at budget time? That's
So
fine
this
with
one we
me.
can let, we already advertised for this year?
I have a question as well. And we could commit maybe half for 2018 and half for 2019. Is that not correct?
I'm not sure how far he's stringing it
Yeah,
out.
and I've looked into it
If
just
you want
briefly.
if you want to retable it, we can do that. I thought we were taking it out of rainy day. Julie's here to give us the answer.
The plan was, for the non-reverting, was a 5-year plan, right? And there were projects that he laid out in that request that
Over that
totaled
5 years.
that $2 million or whatever it was. So he was hoping that we could fund the posse upgrade from non-reverting and then be able to replenish that.
So that we stay on the timeline,
With a 5-year plan. I understand.
the same. Right, so we cannot do it at budget? Is that what we were instructed just now?
Well, it's like,
If you have a 5-year plan, then you'd be able to come back to the county council, or however you're gonna replenish it.
so we have the money advertised both out of general and then also out of.
in non-reverting right
Then
now,
you'd have to advertise it out as.
No, we advertised, we tabled it last month.
because it's tabled.
Right.
Motion to,
Done
And
tabled it.
approve it in the non-reverting. Fine with that.
Well, it's been untabled.
I'd make a move to approve.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
We didn't want a
We
second.
didn't want that.
We don't want a second.
Don't want a
We
second?
don't want a second.
Well, you already got one.
Once you
I'll
withdraw
mine
it.
first.
Okay.
Draw my second.
Somebody do that again.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, it dies for lack of a second. Nothing else is coming untabled. Moving on to new business. Mr.
Thanks,
Shaver?
Julie.
Why don't you introduce him? So we did. Okay, comes up later.
State your name, who you are, and why you're here.
My name is Mike Shaver. I am your appointee to the Clay Township Regional Wastewater District. And when I was appointed, it was suggested that I make a couple of appearances and let you know what things are going on once or twice a year. So, I think this was in your packet. It was the memo in your packet. If not, I brought hard copy.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't think it was either.
You don't think it was? Okay.
That would have been not the right people.
Oh, there you go.
Right away, everybody.
Taking a shot.
Right, everybody jumps on that, yeah.
Anybody got one?
I just want to make a quick, for those of you that want to not pay attention, then the one biggest issue on there is that chart. That chart is in our newsletter for this month, and it shows comparable rates in Hamilton County for approximately the same amount of sewage. There are, to be clear on these, this is like comparing the Health Care Act. There are lots of ways that sewage rates get measured and compared, and so this is not the only one, but this is per 6,000 or 7,000 gallons. You can see that the two citizens-related utilities are two of the top three, and Poor Little Sheridan, without any economies of scale, is kind of swallowed up in that as well. But what we want to bring across to you is that the district is in extremely good financial condition. They are paying cash. They bought in cash 3 million gallons worth of treatment capacity from Carmel. They have in place 3 million gallons worth of treatment capacity in the plant on the west side that's slightly over the boundary and in Zionsville. That plant can be increased in size to 4.5 million gallons. So there currently are 6 million gallons of treatment operative, and another 1.5 million for a total of 7.5 million. And the fiscal pro forma is that the new development that comes on and adds capacity has to buy that capacity. So the idea here is that they can pay cash without bonding, without raising the rates. There's $0 currently in debt, and the fiscal structure is, to the extent that it doesn't get changed, is sound, that existing customers are not being charged to pay for growth. And that in utilities tends to be a sticking point. Lots of people have different opinions. I won't bother with that unless you guys want to bother with that. There's a 5% rate increase in the making that's going through the public hearing process at this point. A large portion of that is from increases in charges from our partner utilities. Approximately 3.7% increase from the Carmel Utilities guys. And then we're replacing some of the money that we've used in capital outlays for things like efficiencies and parallel facilities. So when this increase takes effect, the rate for Clay Township will be $31.92, which is the second lowest. Fishers is currently the lowest. If somebody goes for a rate increase besides the 5%, which is already figured in here, then that would mix the numbers up again. In addition, when a developer comes in and says they want sewers in there to serve an undeveloped parcel, they are required to put the sewer in all the way across their parcel. So in effect, what happens, they hook into the guy that's whoever's downstream from them, then they have to build it upstream to the next guy who then hooks in to them. And that, again, saves building a lot of sewer capacity in the future. The district has spent a lot of money in the last year, and I am just getting used to these guys. I've been on this since January. I don't know why I looked at my watch, but I've been on this since January. And so there are a lot of things in this that I'm still learning, and I hope that I checked most of this with everybody so that I believe I've got it right. But the leadership's made a concerted effort to reduce the number of lift stations in the system. When the system was originally designed, and I happened to be peripherally involved in it, there were half a dozen lift stations. Right now there are 23. There are 23 because developers had no way of getting their sewage to the system because the interceptors weren't in yet. This year, because of parallel interceptors and additional capacity in the sewer system, they're going to be taking 3 to 4 lift stations offline, which should help with reducing the operating cost. In addition, there's the removal of clear water, called infiltration and inflow, sometimes called I&I. That is capacity that's consumed. There is no way to make a gallon of clear water mixed with a gallon of sewage makes 2 gallons of sewage. There's not any other way once they get combined to get them separated again. So by taking the clear water out of the system, and the system is 42 years old, they end up liberating capacity that can then be used to serve growth. It also has enabled us to send less flow to the partner utilities, and that reduces expenses for those services. Long-term reduction in the sewer rates is caused by the fact that you, in effect, can add more subdivisions without increasing the size of your sewage treatment plant. There's also capital investment in odor control at the wastewater treatment plant. Sewage that travels such a long way tends to become septic, and when it becomes septic, it's very hard to deal with an activated sludge, which is an aerated facility. They have to aerate it a lot to get it back to where the microbes are active. The odor control system, the West Sewage Treatment Plant is sitting in a business park on the southeast side of Zionsville, and it is the impact of the smells is something that we took very seriously in trying to be a good neighbor. So that's an investment that we'd make again, even though it doesn't increase our efficiency, it reduces our impact. Also point out that we've had no overflows caused by rain events since April of 2014. That's more than 3 years, and with the rainstorms that we've had recently, I think that's a commendable performance measure. There have been a couple of overflows that were caused by damaged sewers. The guys putting in the streetlights along Spring Mill drilled a post down through one of our sewers. The sewer was marked, and you could go on electronically and locate it and all of that. They just missed their mark, and that's what caused that. So there's been a couple of those, but no treatment plant overflows. And what's happened because of our competitive cost and the reasonable rates and solid fiscal plan is that we're now confronting the fact that people on the outskirts are trying to come to the Clay Township system as opposed to going to the system that has been designated by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. Now, the Regulatory Commission, for obvious reasons, uses political boundaries. Well, water doesn't always run downhill from political boundaries. So in many cases, you've got drainage basins in Clay Township that actually originate up in Westfield. And so you end up with situations where it's very easy for the developer to drain downhill to one of our sewers, but when citizens bought the Westfield service area, they didn't really have any way to get sewage from, say, 146th Street north to wherever they've got their closest facility. So that's an issue that we're dealing with on a daily basis. Finally, there's been a significant investment in employee training. We've got 2,700 days without a lost time injury by our employees. And worker safety is something that they emphasize on a weekly basis. They have tailgate things and stuff like that to train guys. And then they won the Workplace Safety Award for 9 consecutive years. I take no credit for that, but with all the things spinning around and the number of things that they've got to deal with, having worked in the steel mill when I was going to college, it's fairly easy to get hurt in those kind of circumstances, and they haven't. So we think we're competitive. If you have questions, my contact information is on the front. I'd be happy to answer any questions by email, phone call, whatever. I just want you to stay updated on what we're doing here, and based on that thing over there, I've taken up more time than Rick asked, so I'll shut up.
Any questions for Mr. Shaver?
What do you do for a living?
Me?
Yes.
I'm a public policy consultant.
And is this your first foray into public plumbing?
Public plumbing? I don't think I've ever heard it called that. No, actually, I worked for IDEM before there was an IDEM.
Okay.
And then worked for a series of consulting engineering firms. So, yeah.
So you already knew the 3 rules of plumbing, didn't you?
Water runs downhill. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, approval of vendor claims.
So moved.
Thank you, by the way, Mike.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 7517-01, a resolution concerning the purchase of real estate for 146 and Allisonville Road intersection.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Wait, are these the house? Is that the?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Resolution 7517-02, resolution of the Hamilton County Council authorizing all departments and officers to accept credit card payments. This should
So
be-
moved.
Second.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Resolution 7517-03, a resolution of the Hamilton County Council approving sale of real estate. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on this?
I have a question. The other two went pretty quick, but Chris, have you read this? Have you approved it?
So this only has to do with selling the building they got now, right?
That's
Not
what
the
it appears.
purchase of the new one?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yes. Okay.
Karen really has some stuff to say. She's prepared. You want to come
Stay
over?
where you
I'm here to ask for a favorable vote on this resolution so that we may sell
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That was easy for you, huh? There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ratification of interfund loan for bond payment shortfall.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Auditor, what is this?
Every year, we have shortfalls, and per my clerk, we need money in to make this fund whole,
Okay.
and then we'll pay it back at settlement time.
All right, all those, is there a motion for that? We moved to seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to amendments, additional reductions and transfers.
Mr. President, did you open the hearing?
Oh, yeah, open public hearing concerning additional appropriations. All righty. Moving on, we have 1,000 County General Fund requesting $30,000 amount available for additional appropriation, 21 million. First is an extension 140, number one is extension 144 amendment. Is there a motion? Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sheriff's 144 amendment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Then we have an additional appropriation of $30,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Community Corrections Project income requesting $633,785. Amount available for additional appropriation, $1,137,268. This is sponsored by Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
So you're making a motion?
I am making a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
That include the 144?
That does include the 144.
Tell us what this is, since it's $633,000, please.
This is just their annual budget. That's for both? Project income? Okay.
Okay, you said that's their budget?
Well, it's J
It's
and
for the budget.
B and J,
Like
is what you're saying.
Their budget falls on a different timeline.
Fiscal year.
Ralph's, yes,
Okay.
it's a different physical year.
Okay.
Our fiscal year is June 1, or July 1 to June 30th with our grant from the state.
Okay.
So we're actually, what you're doing, what you do in the fall for 2018, we're doing now.
Was this motion for 1 and 2?
Motion does include 1 and 2.
For number B and J, right?
No, just
Just
B,
B.
1, 2. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty. C, 1159 Health Fund requesting $103,401. Amount available, additional appropriation, $1,136,830. Sponsored by Councilman Beaver. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Discussion, Brad, you want to explain this, please?
No, I have no idea, but I did talk to Barry about it.
Sponsored it.
Money to the grant.
I did sponsor it.
Very-
I'm the liaison
It's
for
grant
Barry.
money, grant
just grant money.
distribution.
Okay. Okay. It's been moved to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
1176 Motor Vehicle Highway, 144 Amendment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
E, Rainy Day Fund requested $2,295,000 amount available for additional appropriation. This was sponsored by Rick and myself. This is the highway stuff, Rick, that we did. This is the only thing I've sponsored.
Yeah, there were two parts to it. One is the professional services for judicial center,
Yeah.
and the other,
Is for the jail.
thank you. Design fees for the judicial center and then the jail.
Okay.
All right, so that we're clear, we have figured that
So moved.
Seconded. Okay, discussion. Go ahead, Brad.
figured, what was it, 25 million? What we're generally figuring on the addition at the courthouse? And Finance Committee has figured 25 million for that and 12 million for the jail, even though we're appropriating design funds. The last meeting or two, we come to the jail project had mushroomed to $16 million. But when we were figuring out how we were going to fit all these projects and the money we had inside our capabilities, that number was 12 million. So between now and the time that they want to start paying contractors, you got to figure out whether you want to spend 12 million or 16 million on the jail. That decision has not been made, but I'm going to vote in favor of the design money. Clear?
Yeah, that's fine. I get it. I mean, does that sound like the exact number that we had in there? It was a 1.5 million in that work session where I made the motion? Because I didn't see that in this minutes. I was just looking them over while he was.
It was the same you mean on this part?
Yeah.
It's the same.
It's the same number. Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 4807 non-reverting computer maintenance fund requested 977,000. Didn't we?
This is what we were just referring to, that we untabled and it died for lack of second, so now we're looking for a motion to pay it out of the non-reverting fund.
Okay, correct.
You know, is there a
Is there a motion?
No, excuse me, is there a sheet before that, or is that the sheriff?
That was a part of the last,
Okay,
Joint meeting.
okay, thank you. Sorry, sir,
so I'll make the motion to approve. Okay.
I'm really not that sorry.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on this? This is the same thing we had earlier, we had tabled. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all those opposed? None. Youth Assistance Programs requesting $14,239 amount available for additional appropriation, $72,075. Do I have a
Make the
motion?
motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 8127 Public Health Preparedness Grant requesting,
Was that for the 144 as well?
My motion did include that, yes.
where's that 206, where's that form here in this one for the 206,000? There's just a ton of it. Requesting 206,833 amount available for additional appropriation, 206,833, sponsored by Councilman Brad Beaver. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion for 1 and 2.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Veterans Courts requesting $27,790 amount available for additional appropriation, $27,790. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
9104 1718 Community Corrections Grant requesting $2,940,000. Additional appropriation, same amount.
I'll make the motion to accept 1 and 2.
Second.
Is there any discussions? What we discussed, we talked about this earlier, right? Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 9107 Community Corrections Grant, $2,600 transfer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Foreign language grant requesting $16,400. Amount available for additional appropriations, 16.4, sponsored by Councilwoman Masalamani. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
What foreign language are we speaking?
Who did the second?
Whichever one you would like today. Can't speak to what foreign
You
language.
should probably learn English first. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Aye.
Juvenile detention alternative initiative grant requested $30,000. Amount available for additional appropriation, $30,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we got this 9130, 2017 Court Recidivism Reduction Program Grant 144 Amendment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. This time we're going to close the public hearing. Is there any announcement from the sheriff?
I have nothing this evening.
Council attorney? Madam Auditor?
Yes, I have two transfers for Ralph Watson. One is for Kingston in his grant fund 9107, and one is for 16 cents in his fund 1122.
I'm not.
Oh, absolutely
I'm not
outrageous.
supporting that.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just made it, Ralph.
All right, is that it? Anything else coming up here from anybody else? This meeting is adjourned.